Are you looking to take your personal finances to the next level? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not, with your host, Joseph Sangle.
Welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. My name is Joe Sangle, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Megan Hibbard. How are you doing on this Monday? Are you fired up?
Doing great. Special episode.
Yes, special episode because we have a guest. We're so excited about that. Tell everybody what we're going to talk about in this episode.
Yes. So I'll tell you, and then we'll introduce our guest. So we're going to talk about the secrets of buying and selling on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. So
yes.
We see a lot of people using Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace to buy and sell stuff. Can you have an episode that focuses on how to do this well? And I would add, and safe.
And I want to learn how to do that because I'm not very good at it. And I just bought my first thing ever on Craigslist, and it was 2 bunny rabbits. And you know what? Apparently people are buying stuff because when I called, they had 3. When I got there was only 2. Somebody had bought one out from under me. And I'm glad because I only wanted none. I mean, 1. But I got 2, and it was great. It was a great episode of me going and visiting a grandma who was helping a grandson make money. But he only showed up for the money-making part. He never showed up to do the feeding. So she finally just took him away from me. It was funny. He was like 16 now, and she had him working on the barn or something. He was there. He didn't get to be involved in collection of money this time. But it was fun. Tell everybody about our feature resource for this month.
Yes. So our featured resource for this month is the I Was Broke, Now I'm Not 40-day budget challenge. If you want to become great at managing your money, this is a challenge for you. The last few months have been challenging and taxing on all of our finances, so learn how to master budgeting in 2020. The 40-day budget challenge will help you eliminate financial stress, gain control of your money, move towards your plans, hopes, and dreams, and gain new perspective on your money and life. So for a limited time, you can join the challenge for just $29.99. So visit iwbnin.com/help to register.
Yeah, and we hope you'll join that challenge if you've always wanted to get good at budgeting and just never found the time to learn, or you've been forced into becoming a good budgeter. I really encourage you to sign up for that. It'll be very helpful for you to learn the skill sets necessary to become a super duper budgeter. Isn't that awesome? But we know what time it is. Let's go.
Now it's time to get caught up with our current money events.
This portion of the podcast is brought to you by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. Utilize the Debt Freedom Date calculator to determine when you'll be debt-free. It will provide vision for your future and fuel to power you towards financial freedom. Visit the website at iwbnin.com, click on Tools, and select Debt to find all of our debt calculators. And the best part, the tools are free.
Yes, and they are all free. The current money event section. Are you excited about that? It's awesome. It's about air travel. You know I love planes. I love jets. Hashtag jets, not New York jets. I mean real jets.
What's wrong with the New York jets?
Real jet. Well, what's wrong with them? Let's list what's right. All right. All right, we're done listing what's right with the New York Jets.
I mean, I'm not a Jets fan.
Other than they're horrible, and they've not been good since Joe Namath, basically. But here's what I know. We're talking about air travel, and I love to fly. I love all types of jets. My favorite type of jet I've ever flown on is a 777, a Boeing 777. I like 737s. Southwest flies exclusively 737s. I like Airbus A321. The EOWs, the big ones. They're really awesome. You can tell it's different from the 320 and the 319 because it has 4 doors, exit doors on each side in case of an emergency. But anyhow, I digress. You know, air travel is picking up, and I'm so excited. You know, last year, my bride finally talked me into throwing my money in a hole in the ground, also known as a pool. And I was not a fan of that idea, but I'm so glad we did because I spend more time in the pool than anybody. And when we sit there, the flight path, I guess, the flight pattern coming into our local airport at Greenville-Spartanburg Airport is right overhead. And during the coronavirus pandemic, they stopped flying overhead. There were no flights. In fact, American Airlines averaged, that's the one I fly the most, 32,000 passengers a day nationwide. That's pretty terrible, considering they were flying on average about 600,000 a day. So it's like 5%. And so I've started seeing them fly. And in July, American Airlines has restored passenger carry load is to 55% of what it was a year ago, July. And you may not think that's very good. until you hear me say it was at 5%. So now it's at 55%. That's 11x. And so I just encourage everybody, think about it. They're learning how to do this stuff safely. I'm pretty confident if the CDC wasn't comfortable with it, they would not do it at all. So they found ways to make sure they're cleaning the air. Everybody has to wear a mask, which I hope that means the temperature's cooler. I've not got on a plane in 4 months, but I'm ready to get on a plane. And I booked some flights.
There you go.
And so I just encourage everybody, if you're thinking about traveling again, it looks like air travel is going to give you some options again. And that's great, great news because this pandemic will be behind us. We said this so many times. There will be a day that this will be behind us. Almost everybody listening to this podcast, if not everyone, is going to survive it. And so we really want to make sure that you consider that as one of the things. It's really important for the ability for people to get around the country and get outside of the country. One other news note, they've restored 20% of their international traffic. So only 20%, but that's better than 0%, which is where they were at.
Yeah.
So that's good news too, that other countries are opening up and are willing to receive traffic from North America, which is great news. And so I thought I'd share that. As we said, we're going to continue in the current money event section to talk about coronavirus, COVID-19 stuff. And so that's your current money event section.
Yes.
Get fired up.
So for our success story today, Hope wrote us in May and said, month 3 of budgeting for our family has been the eye-opener. Needed tires because one was flat, paid for it. Money for our expenses is there. We just need to budget and tell it where to go. Thank you so much for your guidance and teaching us. We are fired up, climbing the ladder. Thank you so much. You can expect our debt-free call soon.
Yes, I love that. So think about this. It seems like a small victory, right? Really small. Like the tire is flat. And it reminds me of the comedian who says he was fixing his flat tire and somebody says, "You have a flat tire?" He's like, "No, it's just sitting here and the other 3 swelled up on me." But you know what? When you have been broke and you've had no money and you have the ability to pay for a flat tire without putting on a credit card, that is a huge win.
Oh, yeah.
And it's those early victories that help cement new habits that allow you to be able to stick with it for the long haul. So way to go, Hope. Your name means hope, esperanza, right? Isn't that it in Spanish? And hope springs eternal. And so you have hope. Hope has hope. As I say, hope, it puts a hop in your step.
That's awesome.
And that's what I'm fired up about. So way to go, Hope. We can't wait for your debt-free call.
Okay, so now we're going to get to the point where you all are interested.
Yes.
So, not that you didn't care about air travel, because that is interesting, I think.
I cared about it a lot. What are you saying
That's
here?
what I'm saying. It was interesting. I think you did a great job.
Good recovery.
Thank you. Okay, so now to our featured question. Our question is, I see a lot of people using Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace to buy and sell stuff. Can you have an episode that focuses on how to do this well?
Yes. And this is why we're so excited about this podcast, because we have a special guest live and in the studio. Yeah. His name is Travis Rexroth. He's a member of our team here. And this is the first person I thought of, Travis. You were when I got this question, because frankly, I want to know this too. And I know of no one better in my life that knows how to really do the art of the deal, wheeling, dealing, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, everything. And one of the stories that I remember first that really gripped my attention was when you and Ashley, your bride, wanted to go back to where you honeymooned and you needed to raise some fast cash and it was more than $0. So tell us, everybody, that story.
Yeah. Well, first, Joe, thanks for having me. And that was a special time. That was actually 5 years ago, which was our 10th anniversary. And we wanted to go back to the same place we went on our honeymoon, which was Sandals Resort in St. Lucia.
Woo, that's where we went to.
Yes.
It's awesome.
In St. Lucia? Mm-hmm. Really, same place.
It's incredible.
You should go.
Absolutely. If you haven't been, you got to go.
I went to Sandals Resorts in Jamaica. Ocho Rios, Dunn's River Falls.
Anywhere
down there.
but here is great. So I knew that we needed to supplement a little income to do a few deals, make a little extra cash, and Facebook Market and Craigslist was there, available, free, and just took a little bit of my time. And I'm a spender, so I love spending money and I love making money.
Me too.
Yeah, and so it kind of it fit that need as well as allowed us to kind of meet that dream of going back to St. Lucia 10 years afterwards.
So anybody's been to St. Lucia knows that's not like $1,000 deal. Like
No.
that is, it's sandals for 5, 6, 7 days, a lot of money. And you were able to do that doing deals on vehicles and different things. And so that's interesting. And that's exactly what our audience wants to hear about is how do you do that? Like, how did you do that safely? How does someone, if they're brand new to Craigslist, brand new to Facebook Marketplace, maybe kind of explain what those are? And then let's talk about how do you do it safely?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure most anyone who lives in, the lower 48 and others know what Craigslist and Facebook Market is. Facebook Market has kind of superseded Craigslist more recently. I would suggest, and I prefer Facebook Market, but Craigslist is a great way to buy and sell new and used items. There are benefits to both, but I think Facebook Market, you have a greater control over knowing who you're dealing with, the items that you're getting, locations, history of the people. Communication is tracked through Facebook Messenger. Craigslist, everything is kind of outside their platform. And so although Craigslist is great, some people prefer Craigslist, but I prefer Facebook Market. And so if you have a passion for certain items that you know they're worth and you can buy them for a deal and sell them and make a little cash, I mean, a little bit over time, you can really stack it up, right? And so that's kind of how I use it. One, I'm a spender. It allows me to spend money, and it's almost like a savings account, right? Or like an investment account.
Sure.
So I get to spend money. I get that good feeling. But then I get to use the item, whatever it is. Sometimes it's a 4-wheeler or you know, a tool or whatever. Use it for a time and then either sell it for a profit or sell it for what I put into it. And there are times that I sell for a loss, but it's okay. And so that's how we use Facebook Market, and it can be extremely safe if you stick to certain guidelines that I've kind of learned and stuck to over the years.
Yeah. So I think when I think safely, I don't know about you, Megan. Have you bought anything on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace?
We have, yeah. We have a couple rules that we follow.
What are your rules?
Which I'm sure are kind of similar to yours. One is we try to never do it at our house. So we always try to go somewhere else. So even if it's like our neighborhood has a pool, so even if it's like up there or a gas station or Target or something like that, just as an added precaution.
Like a public location.
Yeah, so just in case. I mean, we have sold things at our house just because they're large and hard to move. And then for us, one thing is like Jordan, my husband, has gotten really good at like sensing a scam. And so if they, which I'm sure you have too, because there's lots of scams, especially on Craigslist. But like if they won't meet you in person and they only want to handle money online, that's usually telltale that it's a scam, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I've got a good scam story.
Yeah.
Maybe that's for another time.
No, maybe you should share the scam story.
Well,
or
this
is
was
it for another
one of my
time?
first deals on Craigslist, and I was in college, and I was buying a motorcycle that I really wanted, and it was to someone in Europe, a girl who just lost her husband.
Oh.
And yeah.
No red alerts here.
If you could just wire this money to me. And I was young, naive, and it was a big learning experience. The deal didn't go through, but anyways, it's one of those things that unfortunately you realize not everyone's truthful.
Right.
And so you absolutely have to have a sense of discernment.
So I can understand why you think Facebook Marketplace is better, because it's hard to hold up a fake account as well, because, you know, family, friends, that sort of thing. You'll be able to see interactions.
Yep.
So another thing I think of safety. So I think of personal safety. So let's kind of list those things that I heard. So one of them is meet at a public place, meet in daylight if you can, don't go alone. I also think of this fact of like cash. Like, how do I make sure the cash I get is safe? Do you ever accept like a certified funds or a Venmo of cash or any Cash App? Is that something that's good for cash safety?
Yeah, definitely. Any of those kind of digital funds, I don't have any problem with with accepting them, but the funds have to be transferred, and I have to see them on my side before we finalize the transaction.
So if they do it digitally via one of these cash transfer methodologies, which is Cash App, Venmo, can they dispute it and try to get the money back? Like once it shows up in your account, is that your money?
Yeah, their ability to dispute it would have to go back through you.
And then if you have Facebook Marketplace or you track, so I hear track your communication as well.
Yeah, so it's this is just kind of a pet peeve of mine. I don't delete my communications if I buy or sell an item for an extended period of time, just for that reason. You know, we all have a little crazy in us, and you never know how crazy someone is on a particular day. But as far as cash, because cash is, you know, is one of the big uses in buying and selling. I would go to Staples or any office supply and get one of those pins that has it's like a blue light on one end, and then the pin actually marks the bills to indicate whether or not they're counterfeit or real. It's like a $5 pin, and one time it saved me, I mean, hundreds of dollars worth of a potential fraudulent transaction. So I would say take that, always use it, mark the bills real quick before you buy something or sell something.
So that's a really good tip. So any office supply store, I'm sure you can buy it on Amazon as well.
Sure.
And we're going to be doing an episode on the podcast talking about how do you know that your currency that you have is good. And I've been doing research and prep of that. We haven't produced that episode yet. But one of the things that was really interesting to me is that light matters. Mm-hmm. So that's news to me here, because they say that under this light, certain bills will reflect a certain color. And every denomination is a different color. I didn't know that.
That's wild.
And then they also have a certain reaction with that pen. And so there was a kid, a 13-year-old, who got arrested for having a counterfeit bill, but it's because it was a $2 bill, and it was so old that the pen would not work on it. It was really interesting. So it's not 100% fail-proof, but boy, it will clean out basic scammers who've printed some decent-looking currency on a printing machine.
Yep.
And so how do you ensure the item is good? So when I say the item is good, I'm saying working order and not stolen, the so-called hot stolen goods thing. How do you make sure of that?
Yeah. So that's always there. You're going to have red flags, right? The old saying of, you know, something that's too good to be true usually is too good to be true. So I wouldn't say that 100% of items that I've bought have been free and clear and not stolen. I will say 100% of items I've bought, I did not know if they were bought or if they were stolen or clear or whatever. I have asked the question of, you know, is this yours? How long have you owned it? And if it's a larger item that can be traced, whatnot, I may have further questions. But this is another big reason that I choose to use Facebook Market, because I can Facebook stalk whoever I'm interacting and dealing with to try and gauge their character and, you know, kind of the type of person they are, people they interact with, and the history of buying and selling if they're selling other things. And it helps me gauge and kind of put together an understanding if, you know, I can believe them or not. So, yeah, that's one of those things that if you see a car that you know is worth $10,000 and it's selling for $2,500, either A, there's something majorly wrong with it, B, it's stolen, or C, it's a scam.
Yeah.
And so I just quickly weed
what
out.
What are the common scams that you just see over and over and over again? Wiring money before you get the item?
Yeah, wiring money, things that are worth far more, they're asking far less. They just want to get your contact information, and it's silly. You can see some certain items that you can tell connects with a certain demographic that they're trying to reach to, but you know right off the bat that it's a scam. But once again, if it looks too good to be true, very likely it is.
And we would also say, like, for us, if you're not like an expert in that, so if you don't know cars, maybe be a little bit more hesitant to buy a car. You know, like I feel like you know cars really well. Like my husband knows motorcycles really well. And so he wouldn't think twice about buying and selling a motorcycle on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. Like he's like, I know what it's supposed to sound like. I know what it's supposed to do. Like I can look at everything and see. But like if you're buying your first car, like maybe take somebody that knows cars with you, or like, because I know you've gone on some things with other people and you've helped them like to be able to judge like, hey, this is a good deal, or this sounds right, or this doesn't sound right. Maybe you should pass on it, you know? So if you're not an expert, either maybe go to like CarMax or something, or like bring somebody with you that knows cars.
Absolutely.
So that's really important. So you've bought things as big as vehicles, multi-$1,000 transactions. I've bought bunnies for $15, right? That's all I've ever bought. So there's a broad universe of everything that could possibly under the sun that could be bought or sold. And the steps that you're going to take are more defined the more money that's at risk. But like, what are some other things you take to verify that things are legit? Like before you even make the phone call, before you even reach out to them. So I heard you say I Facebook stalk them. Unpack that a little bit for our listeners.
Yeah, so there's a couple different steps that I would take. One, to verify the person, and then two, to try and research as much as possible the item. So larger items, I'll just use vehicle as an example because you pointed out. So it's a larger item, it's more expensive, there's more money being transacted. So if I know that I'm going to have $5,000 on me, I want to know who I'm about to approach, right? So something like that, I would likely want to meet during the day at a public place. Sometimes I would feel comfortable enough at my home or their home, but and so that's when the Facebook stalking comes into place, just to know a little more of who they are.
Yeah. Have they been in that location a while? Does it look like they have a pretty stable life? Do they buy and sell a lot?
Right. Yeah. So simple things that you can discern. And then the item, you can use tools on the internet. Carfax is one that I've used a number of times. You can find free tools, but it's worth it to me to pay a couple dollars to get a true VIN history and to know the history of that vehicle. And so there are a number of ways that you can kind of research the vehicle. So if it has a sketchy background, or if it doesn't have a clear title, or if it's somewhere up north that could be, it's run through the snow and salt. There's a number of things that I'd be like, okay, I'm not interested, and maybe I paid $10, $20 for Carfax history, but it's far worth putting that investment in and then saying, no, I'm sorry, thank you anyways, instead of spending $5,000 and
absolutely
wish I wouldn't have.
So I'm struck, I have one experience with this, and that's why we brought you in. But when I called the person about the rabbits, it was on Craigslist, I believe, that I found it. It was Craigslist. And I called, and she answered. She's very kind. And she was like, I was very clear. I'm going to be there at this time. This is the type of car, because I'm driving to their property. She's not driving bunnies somewhere, for $15, So I show up, and I was like, it was a country little estate. Turns out they had 11 acres, had maybe their adult daughter was on the porch doing something, I don't know, some sort of craft. And they had two teenage boys out working on the barn. And I'm back picking out two bunnies in a box, And I'm thinking about this. This is how things should be. Mm-hmm. You should not be fearful for your life when you're doing basic transacting and buying and selling. And that's why I think stores, and why so many people are more comfortable going and paying full-blown retail, because that element of their security, they never feel like it's gone in a nice store. But going to somebody's house they don't know, they feel weird about it. So I know that you verified things before you have the phone call. Once you're there, do you always go with someone else, or do you go alone a lot?
So if I'm giving advice to others, my suggestion is, if you can, go with someone.
Okay.
But one of the benefits of being a guy and a larger guy, I feel like I'm not at risk
Not as at risk.
As at risk as some. So there are times that I'll go by myself, but most times I'll have someone with me. Sometimes my wife and kids will come. I mean, you'd be surprised when you have your wife and kids how it could diffuse the situation or just make it feel much more
comfortable.
Absolutely. I've had friends come, like Megan said before. I've gone with buddies. Buddies have come with me, and I don't mind in some circumstances going by myself. But in that case, I definitely want it to be in a location that I'm comfortable and that I know that they would feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's interesting, and I know we have to wrap up, and I could talk about this for hours, but I have one other question I wanted to ask, and this needs to become some sort of thing. Like this needs to become a course or something. But I'm interested. What if you have an item, you got to test it, but you're meeting at a public place? Like I'm thinking you need to test drive a car. Mm-hmm. How do you test drive the car? Do you just get in their car and leave? Yet better, even more, if it's your car, do you let them leave? What do you get from them? If it's a chainsaw and you're at a gas station, pretty sure you don't want to be firing up a chainsaw in the parking lot of a gas station. It'd be very odd. Yeah. I'd be weirded out by it. Like, how do you test things when you're in public places?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a big part of it is I think this transactional element of Facebook Marketing and Craigslist is based on trust.
Yeah.
And so for me, I advise everyone and hold myself to the same standard to be honest and open with the product you're selling.
Sure.
In hopes of that the same is being done with those that are selling to me. So hopefully it is as stated, and if I get to a quick trip and I have a big chainsaw that I'm buying or selling, that I don't have to start it up or whatnot. I can just trust that it works. And a number of times that's the case. Many times I get home and it doesn't. Usually those are the times where I get a deal and I know, hey, they say it works, but if it doesn't work,
it still makes sense financially.
It still makes sense, and I'm okay with that. But as far as a car, I won't ride with them, honestly. I would rather them take the car. If I give verbal consent, my insurance will cover them. And, if they have insurance, then great. But not knowing how they drive, I would much rather my life be spared and my car not. So, and you have to judge their character and whatnot. Yeah. I don't have any problem with, if they show me the money, they have the money to buy it.
Yeah,
go take it for a drive.
Yeah, and I like this conversation, and just in a method of wrapping it up. We talk a lot about outgo, managing outgo, being wise stewards of what we do have. This one kind of really talks about maybe generation of income.
Yeah,
and I like that. So, what is the tip? The one tip you would give somebody who they've never done a deal, they've been interested. What is the one step they could take today? It's Monday. They're listening to the Monday Money Tip podcast. What is the one tip you would give them to get started?
Yeah, so I would take the one tip and say do two things. One, find one thing in your home that is maybe not a value to you, but will be a value to someone else, and throw it out there. Let it just be a test
on the
product.
marketplace.
Yep. Two, find something that you have a passion for, research it, find a good deal, spend a little money, invest in it, use it, have fun, and then resell it.
Love it.
I would do that.
That's awesome. So we have a quote for today.
Yes.
I love it. It says what?
It says, welcome to Facebook Marketplace where the condition is made up and basic math doesn't matter. Who said that?
I just saw that. It was a meme. It says, welcome to Facebook Marketplace where the condition is totally made up and basic math doesn't matter. It's kind of like you can get 1 for 5 or 2 for 20. Huh. Excellent. So, hey, we hope this has been a helpful episode for everybody, and we do challenge you to go buy, sell stuff on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, do it safely, and generate some income along the way, and get some stuff at a deal. That'd be awesome. Tell everybody what we're going to talk about next week.
Yes, so next we're talking about budgeting with irregular income. So many people have seasonal, cyclical, so it's a hard word to say, or unpredictable income, whatever you call it, it's irregular.
Whatever you call it.
Whatever I call it, yeah. And it creates a challenge for those who earn income this way. So many people with this type of income tell us, I don't know how much I'm going to make each month, so I can't budget. And we tell them in response, not only can you budget, but you need to budget more than anyone. So we're going to talk all about it on Monday right here on the Monday Money Tip podcast.
Yes. And if you like today's episode, please help us get this podcast to other people who could benefit. You can do this quickly by rating our podcast, leaving a review. These ratings and reviews help us make our podcast better for our listeners. And if you've implemented one of our tips, please share your success story with us via social media or emailing us at info@iwbnin.com. We do want to say thanks to our special guest, Travis Rexroth. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
And we do encourage everybody, go find that one thing. Take that tip, put it on the Facebook Marketplace, put it on Craigslist, get it sold. Use that money to go buy one thing, make some money with it. Get fired up. Have a great Monday, everybody.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe. And for more great content and to stay up to date, visit iwbnin.com. We'll catch you next time.